Question 2. What is your favorite feeling, happy or sad? If you've selected both, you're bipolar.
Keep on sounding, honeys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit.
The boys are here.
Here we are, the bipolar boys of comedy, coming at you. We're doing a bipolar episode. Used to be called manic depressive. I guess they don't use that term anymore. But
the Jimi Hendrix song wouldn't have sounded the same if he was called bipolar instead of manic depression.
Yeah, I mean, manic depression like sounds cooler.
It's way cooler.
Bipolar is more clinical sounding for sure, and like
depression
less
is the
judgmental,
headline.
maybe.
It's not like depressed mania. It's manic depression. So it's like, oh, is the depression itself manic? Yeah, it comes and then it goes. But other than that, that's all you get.
This is a survey episode, so we're going to find out if we're bipolar. Spoiler alert, I've already been clinically diagnosed. So no matter what, I guess once you're diagnosed as bipolar 1, you can't ever be like undiagnosed.
Oh, it's herpes.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Or a dented can. I've used the dented can too much, though. I got to retire that expression. It's not even my expression. Here's the official retirement party for the dented can metaphor. Here's a cake from the grocery store with that weird blue icing. Bye.
Nice to know you, dented can. This is meant to be our shortest episode ever. I scrambled to get back in town because Ramin is going out of town. We're scrambling just to keep. We both had some travel plans and everything else, so we're going to keep this one a little shorter. And also people have I'm curious what people think of like an hour-ish episode instead of our usual 90 minutes to 2 hours. It might be more enjoyable, which will be less work for us if we find that out.
Yeah, and it'll force you to do the dishes faster, or it'll force you to run that mile faster. Ooh, what do we have here for all our video listeners?
I wonder if people listen to. Yeah, I was gonna show which you've seen on Instagram, but holy smokes, this thing is. Look at that.
That's nuts. That's bigger than I even drew it.
What do you mean bigger?
Like when I drew the drawing of it, it's not nearly that big.
Yeah. It would be weird if it was. Your screen would have to be very when you draw, do you like have to zoom in for like fine details and stuff quite a bit?
Sometimes I'm pretty lazy about it. And that one and most of the things I do, it's by hand on paper, and then I scan it and then color it in the real or in the computer world. Yeah, I've been thinking about doing tutorials for like 10 years, and I don't.
Well, I think people would be really interested because people ask. I should start keeping track of them because people sometimes ask on Patreon what styles you're using and stuff. So yeah, that'd be cool. So by the way, so if I've posted some on my Instagram stories. We're going to start putting them on the Mind Under Pod page and stuff. We've been figuring out what we want to tease and what we want to be a surprise and everything, but just got the finished the kind of standees they're called, test run, found the materials that we want and what's going to work. And so here's a fun thing if you want to participate in Discord or whatever that you could do. I went through all of the Mind Under Matter pieces and thought about like why we have the peacock one there that was made a shirt out of it. It was a lot of people's
won awards. Films have been made of it. It's had controversies. It's had assault allegations, but those have since been cleared. But a full career.
And so if you see any of Ramin's work that's pre-existing, where you're like, oh, that would look really cool live, like maybe one of your favorite pieces.
Pre-existing is a fun word. Pre-existing. I know that's normal to say, but it sounded weird for a minute.
An already existing piece? Yeah, I guess you can just say.
It's redundant because existing implies that it exists. And it's like pre-existing.
Yeah, you're
kind of like pre-boarding. What's the deal with pre-boarding?
You're right. So it's basically we have so much stuff to do as we're in the last kind of 6 weeks of getting ready for the fest. By the way, get your tickets. But one really fun thing that I've had, I've just gone through like all of our art pieces and thought of different ideas of what we can do. Like, oh, we can pop the peacock out, that would look good, and just some other fun ideas that we're going to be surprising people with, or you may have seen the lunatic or whatever else. But if you have any suggestions, you could write them on DM them to the Mind Under Pod Instagram, or better yet, go on our Discord, which there's a link to on the mindunderpod.com website page, and get in the conversation. So we're looking to basically how to maximize like dressing up the space and mummifying it and using as much of Ramin's art as possible, with having Ramin do as little work as possible because we have a zillion other things that we're doing. So if you have any fun ideas, shoot them our way. It's fun to do. I've spent hours and hours coming up with ideas. So it's kind of a fun process. So today we have the bipolar episode. We're going to take some questionnaires and surveys, and I thought that I'd do this a little bit differently, because we're going to make this a bonus episode as well, where I'll probably share more of like my personal stories. And
so it's not a bonus episode, but it is.
This is a regular episode, and then we'll make a second one. That's a bonus episode.
Oh.
Yeah. I got to tell you that, because if you think it's a bonus episode, it's like nothing but racial slurs from you.
Yeah, nothing but. I don't even breathe in between them. I have to get a ventilator so I can circular breathe, so it's only coming out. Like Wynton Marsalis or something, who can breathe through his nose while playing trumpet, so he can sustain a note indefinitely. And that's what I like to do with slurs of all sorts. But only on the Patreon. If you want me here, I'm the front runner for the Democratic Socialists or something.
World record longest slurring. So this is interesting. I mean, all of these, it's always like, we don't know exactly how it's going to go, but this one's different than the other survey episodes that we've done. And then we have, so there's basically two tests that I found that when taken together, they're meant to be like a fairly accurate thing. So there's the bipolar spectrum diagnostic scale, and then there's a mood disorder questionnaire. The mood disorder questionnaire is a little more close to the things that we're used to doing on survey episodes, but this bipolar spectrum diagnostic scale is interesting because it's just a story that is 19 sentences. What? And after each sentence, you make a check if you like agree with that sentence applying to you, and then you calculate it at the end and stuff. So it's different. I thought it was unusual, so
Thomas
I thought it'd be fun
witnessed
to try.
A homeless person getting beaten by police on the street. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Oh well, I've got other things to do."
Check. Yeah, so it's like that. What do you? By the way, do you think should we define like? It's funny because I am bipolar, and you would think that I would be for all of the things that I dig into, you would think I would be a bipolar expert. And I just avoid, I don't know why. I just avoid, like, it's the same when we talked with, on a bonus episode about Carl Jung and how I've never really looked into Jungian's ideas. And it's because when I describe DMT experiences to people, some people will be like, oh, those are like some Jungian ideas. So I like that I just kind of came up with them on my own without being influenced. And the same thing with, like, if I hear Terence McKenna, I'm like, I don't want it. I don't know. I want to keep the test beaker sterile or something.
Yeah. I like mine dirty. I like my toilet water dirty.
It may be the way.
Give me all the McKenna. Give me all the stand-up clips. Because I see it the other way. Like, I don't want to think that my idea is novel if it's not. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think my way is the wrong one. And I think that I'm probably, like, making excuses to, not. And also there's immediate resistance when it comes to thinking about being bipolar, and of, like, I'll read the thing. It's going to be like, you definitely need to take medication. And then I don't want to take medication, which is so fucking classic bipolar. People are really hard to get to take
because you miss the highs, right? That's the main reason.
Yeah. I mean, I've had it after, like, severe manic episodes. And so I haven't had lithium, which is, like, I guess supposed to be the more kind of less, I don't know if debilitating is the right word.
It clips the peaks.
Yeah, I guess. And it's something that you can take regularly and doesn't have as many of the side effects and stuff. And it doesn't, the really acute stuff, like, which I've taken when I've had, like, really big manic episodes, that I forget if it acts on, like, I think it acts on dopamine receptors and, like, shuts down dopamine, and it just, like, shuts down it just slows down everything. And like, first of all, listen to how slow I already talk. I mean, if
I'd rather not. That's why I always play the episodes in double speed, go back in time, know what to say, and then say it.
Well, I talk so slow that it really gives you time to seem even quicker than you are, because
I'm actually below like 2 standard deviations of intelligence quickness.
And so especially when someone's so almost no one that's manic. So I don't know to the full extent the difference between bipolar and borderline personality disorder, because I definitely
bipolar people are likable.
It's so there's, like, definitely a lot more paranoia and narcissism going on with borderline stuff. It's like people are, like, plotting against you, or you take things, like, overly personally and overthink, like, social interactions and relationship things and that sort of thing. And I don't have that. Is it because they're more manipulative?
Is that a thing? I think, I mean, I'm talking out of my ass for the whole podcast and every podcast I've ever guested on and anything I've said in the privacy of my own home.
These are all mouth sounds.
Yes, all these are mouth sounds. But my general understanding of it anecdotally is, like, the BPD stories. You hear a lot of, like, manipulation, emotional pulling of strings, and then the bipolar, it might occur, but that's not the main thing you're hearing. It's more of the feeling, less of the outward social tendencies.
Yeah, bipolar. It would be I guess borderline would be like more manipulating others or feeling manipulated by others. Bipolar's more manipulating yourself. It's definitely much more self-manipulation. And so I forget where I was going with that difference, but one of the but borderline personality disorder, they a lot of I guess that borderline people do have a easier time like detaching and recognizing an issue within themselves. So like borderline personality people will seek medical attention, and like manic people are brought in by other people. It's friends and family and other things.
That's
like
so
that.
funny how that plays out. Yeah, you're focused so much on the inside that you can't go outwards and put yourself there.
And also when you're manic, it's like, I mean, unless it gets like really extreme, like level 1 mania. And also I guess
what's level 1 mania
or bipolar 1, which I guess that it's not accurate to say that bipolar 1 is more severe than bipolar 2, and just that their symptoms are different. But in having been bipolar 2 my whole life, and then having my first experience with bipolar 1, I was like, well, that sure seemed lots more severe to me.
Which one? 2 was more?
No, 1
was more.
1 was way more. But not everyone's experience is different. And my first one was kind of drug induced, or at least drug inspired. It got the ball rolling.
Yeah, it was the whole team that passed the ball several times before it made it into your hand to dunk on that.
Yeah.
Dunk on your brain.
Yeah. But that was like psychosis, what I experienced, where that's not necessarily like if you actually are going into, if you're getting an actual official diagnosis and the criteria that a therapist or psychotherapist is looking for, which is different, which we're not like if for any listeners, we always say this isn't like meant to be a diagnostic thing. We're just doing this for fun, but it is sort of some of the early evaluations. So it doesn't mean you're a crazy person if you check yes on all of these or whatever.
Yeah, never listen to any podcast for anything real.
Yeah.
Not a single one. And there's degrees of it, but.
Right. So there's varying, not every bipolar, not every manic episode looks the same. Some people experience psychosis during them. Some people don't.
That'd be great if it was all the same. Like every time you put like a pineapple upside down cake on your head, and every single time you like stuffed cherries up your ass, and then you know exactly what part of the mania was happening because they can't find the cherries. And once they find them, it's bad news. So that's where we got to keep them restrained, or at least lock the store doors.
Like, for example, a common thing that happens with kind of full-blown bipolar 1 mania is memory loss. And I unfortunately remember everything.
That's awesome.
No memory loss. I have plenty of like traumatic scars in my brain that will never go away.
Such as getting into Jesus, right?
Oh, that was the least of.
Oh, that was the least. wanting children.
I have, I mean, I have things I can't even share, but I mean, I have. There's
out of
degrees
embarrassment
before that.
or out of people would be involved.
Both. And yeah,
that's the best kind of story.
Some
embarrassment
of them, maybe,
plus people you can't name.
I mean, wow, there was some stuff going on. I mean, it's more like if I didn't have family members or whatever, or relative, like relatives or old friends or whatever that might like hear the stories and have like unfounded concerns from hearing, like because that's the issue. Is it's not like it's an episode. Like I had episodes, and then that's the weird is that's the odd thing about it, is it's just not most of the time. I'm a normal is a relative term, but my mood is normally regulated, and then sometimes I have episodes, and episodes can be intense. And so
would you tell it to people and this isn't trying to get you to say anything or anything, I'm just kind of gauging the severity of it, but what about...
I've told some friends.
Oh, okay, there you go. I was going to ask if you would tell strangers when there was no recording equipment around.
Depends on the stranger.
Phil. 38. Has been with his girlfriend Rebecca since about 2014. No, actually it's 13.
I mean, a lot of it's just like crazy thoughts that you have, because it's like once you're... the sensation of it for me was like, you're so one of the biggest things to look for is if you are suddenly like, I don't need to sleep anymore. Something unlocked in my brain and I don't need to sleep anymore. That's a bigger, no matter what the survey says or test says or whatever else, number one test to look out for if you're manic, if you are a person that's usually sleeping 8 hours a day and now you're sleeping like an hour or two for
that's
like
so cool
days and maybe weeks at a time. And then that lack of sleep then eventually starts to turn into like psychosis.
Yeah, because the dream world blends in. Like you can't escape the debt of the dream world.
And you don't know what's you just kind of lose sight of what is a dream and or has it always been a dream, and like it gets really blurry. And so then once you're, and then what it's felt like to me, I haven't had nearly as many experiences as a lot of people, and like I said, I haven't read much about this stuff, but my feeling was it was like to keep going, to keep like mining for that energy, your subconscious just uses everything that it can. So it'll start with like pretty benign stuff, like just drinking more coffee or whatever, and having a lot of fun ideas, and then it can lead to like prodding of like guilt and anxiety and paranoia. It's just whatever will get you and keep you going. It will just use any of those things. So it'll fear, paranoia, what do we got? And then and your brain will just start like, oh my God. Like my brain was, and this is like a really common thing, is there's like confessional things that manic people often do, where they have to like confess everything that they've done wrong or whatever. I've had those kind of things. And what it is like, it's like you're being interrogated by your own brain for secrets. Cool. Your brain has all of your secrets.
It does.
And it's like, it will like use them against you and stuff and all. And it's like pure torture. And it's funny that like, because one thing that I will say from an experience like that is that for all of my reckless behavior and everything, I guess I've lived a pretty clean life, because like the stuff that my brain was searching for in like things it could use against me, or basically like my own brain trying to blackmail me, basically.
So you haven't done bad things in terms of like not jaywalking and getting too drunk, but you know, stories you hear of.
It was mining for like the time I mistreated my sister when we were like little kids, and I should have been nicer to her during this, like really silly stuff in hindsight. But at the time I was like, is this why all of this is happening? Because you think it's like, at the time it feels like an external force or something prodding you for things, like everything that you've done bad. And
did you believe it was God, or you were still thinking it's your brain?
Oh yeah, I mean, but
same thing. I know
it wasn't. It was like the same thing. I thought like everything was in my brain, and so then I thought during like the peak of insanity, I thought that I was like, well, all of, you know, if I turn on the news or something and there'd be any kind of, which don't do that if you're manic. But
it's better to turn on the gas. Just like leave the gas on to the stove or something.
And so I would find myself thinking that I was, you know, thinking all of it was, you know, one thing, one connected consciousness and everything, because there are more connections. Your brain's like so lit up, there's more connections than usual, and then you project that sensation onto the world of like, it's all connected. Like, you know, you eat mushrooms, more connections happen in your brain, and you're like, everything's connected. Well, everything's more connected for you right now, and we're all projecting onto the world like our inner feelings.
Yeah. And that is true, but it's, yeah, like you're saying, it's true at that huge macro, but the illusion of division will still be the illusion of division when you come to.
But I mean, I remember thinking, you know, war or any conflict, or like, I thought that it was because of inner conflict in my mind was making like wars happen in other places. And I'm like, oh no, I'm making wars happen. Like it got pretty wild, and that's the stuff I'm comfortable sharing. Yeah,
I guess I've never been manic then. I mean, I know it goes into other stages, but
so bipolar 2 is more like so hypomania. You'll have hypomania, which is just periods, very very little sleep, very inspired. I mean, more of the problems you're running into there is hatching too many plans, spending too much money, having too much sex, you know, with like a bunch of strangers or whatever, if you're able to.
What if that was your plan?
And yeah, I mean, it depends on
strangers like Phil I mentioned earlier, a callback.
I think it's often females that are like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have had sex with all of those people. You know, I don't think guys necessarily recognize it as like a symptom of a
they're all
underlying
victories.
Issue.
Every last one of them. And then women, anything out of the like top percentile, like, ew.
Yeah.
Wish I hadn't have done that. Not perfection. I generalize, of course.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of if you know, it's well studied and has to do with, you know, kind of the usual sort of biology that we talk about in parental investment theory and stuff. And it's generalizing, but if you ask a population, you'll get pretty clear results that if you ask if you ask males and females for their biggest sexual regrets, guy's biggest regret is the like one that got away, the one that didn't have.
Oh, not enough partners versus too many partners.
Females are the
That's
ones.
funny.
Yeah, always, pretty much always. It's the having banged the college team. For guys, it's not having banged the.
Oh, that's so funny. There's a friend of mine who blew the Red Sox and was drunk at, I won't say the name, even though they've said it on a podcast before, so I won't even give a hint of it in case they don't want
all of the Red Sox.
Yeah, here's the story, and it's great on the actual, you can search for it somewhere, but the story goes as this, like, was really drunk, and the Red Sox came in to this bar somewhere, and then eventually one thing leads to another, and then is blowing all the Red Sox, and then the next day tell someone about it, and then they're like, you mean the Peoria Red Sox? Turns out it was like the tiny, like minor league. Like the really, really nothing, who cares once, and then realized the next day was like, oh. And I think at the moment was doing it because they just thought the idea was so funny that this is the Red Sox, but it wasn't the actual major league ones.
It would be funny to blow the Red Sox.
Oh yeah, I'd blow the Red Sox.
Yeah. What a hilarious story to have. Imagine just having that. Once I blew the Red Sox.
This next comedian coming to the stage, you've seen him on Conan, he opens for Chappelle, and he blew the Red Sox. Give it up for Herman Storman. What's up?
So I forget exactly what the criteria is, but I think the depression is more acute in bipolar people. So deeper depressions, but for not as long as just kind of chronically depressed people. And then usually a period of like, oh boy, I shouldn't even say, but I think like at least a couple weeks out of a year, but I think generally much longer than that. And then I think hypomania has to last for a minimum of 4 days and has to have come along with this and that behavior. I wish I could rattle them all off for you, but you can, it's easy enough stuff to look
I never
up.
liked hypo. Like hyper sounds like what it is, but hypo doesn't sound like it's what it's supposed to be. You know, I know it's inverse of hyper, but they should have had a better name than hypo, even if it is a Greek Latin origin sort of thing.
I agree with you.
Hypomania? No, it's like, how about suck out mania? Suck me. Deficania. None of these are good.
I think, well, you might need to sleep on it. I'm sure you'll arrive at it. But the mania is, I think, just, I'm having trouble recalling exactly what the...
That's part of the symptom of mania is lack of memory.
It is. Of the experience, not just usual forgetting a whole bunch of things that you
comes
crammed.
with it. Yeah, because one of the symptoms of mania is loss of memory.
So, regardless, like once you're diagnosed as bipolar 1, you can't be bipolar 2 anymore. Like it doesn't. And the I guess scary thing that I've heard from people is that typically the frequency of episodes, like every time you have an episode, it makes it that much more likely that you're going to have another episode. Cool. And probably sooner. So, but it's been a while for me. I mean,
just within that span, like not that if you had one 10 years ago, you're more likely, but it's more likely to become a habit is what you're saying.
Yeah. And some people can be hypomanic just all of the time without depression, which is like kind of the dream. So like Tony Robbins, maybe, for example.
I think Jamie Loftus has mainly mania. I think she was telling me on a podcast at some point, unless my memory is failing me, but was saying occasionally has the depressive episodes, but is mainly manic, which is why she's able to like make these podcast worlds of like, okay, now I'm really into Lolita. Now I'm really into Kathy. Now I'm really into hot dogs. Now I'm into hackers. And just like 2 months go by. It's like, oh, she has a new book coming out about, this topic that she just got into last month. So lives that manic life.
My experience, and mostly I remember, I remember the most salient ones the most because typically the depression and the hypomania are set apart in a given year a bit more, but the ones that I remember most are usually I'm at like my darkest depths, and then something just clicks one day. Usually I have some incredible insight, what feels like an incredible insight anyway. Something feels, I have a new connection. Something feels clear and focused, and it's like my next big idea. And usually, in addition to that, I'm also like taking care of myself better. So there's also been times where, because I guess you don't necessarily qualify for being bipolar if your mania has only ever been drug induced, which I've had non-drug induced ones, but
completely.
Yeah, but that's the thing, not completely, because I've had ones where I've quit smoking and drinking and started exercising all at the same time, and then that has launched me into a manic state where I was like doing, I was like chemically depressed because of all of the substances and stuff that I was using. And so then I just stopped abruptly and had all of the, taking care of myself and doing. Cause like, what's the difference between that and doing a drug? It's still drug. It's still drugs. It's just different. It's just an absence of drugs that were like weighing you down. It's still chemically induced.
That's why categorization sometimes fails us. Like we want so badly to place things in their boxes, but then sometimes it's like, well, this is in both at the same time.
Exactly. So. Anyway, let's try this thing. It's different and it's kind of interesting.
Let's take her for a spin.
So again, this is just a story. It's 19 sentences. After each sentence, we're going to see if we have a check mark or not.
Yes, and we're going to take a shot after each one.
All right. But I also think that it would be cool to talk through some of these a little bit, of course.
Easy.
Some individuals notice that their mood and or energy levels shift drastically from time to time. So when it says some individuals, it's talking about us. Shift drastically?
I don't think, I would say that has not happened out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Things can shift drastically based on, a discussion you have with someone or a piece of news you get, or all of a sudden some ailment or something, but just not, I wouldn't say that's true for me. Just out of nowhere, like, and I've seen it happen in many people where they have that thing going where like they're rattling off sentences, and then by the time they get to the last one, they're a different person.
Yeah. All right, so no check for you. That's good. Mine's I've had that usually after my biggest depressive episodes comes like some pretty high highs. I've in the past thought that it can feel like I was just a very heavy ball, just sinking, like sinking and sinking on like a rubber band or something like that. And just when I thought things couldn't get any lower, just one day, usually when I've just given up on everything, and every connection in my brain is like, I really just don't care about anything, but I mean it. Like, I'm not saying that. That releases something in me, and then it just like skyrockets. It just like shoots into the stratosphere, and sometimes it's like it's too fast and it's overwhelming. But I've had times where I've like done in 2 weeks, written an entire hour of comedy or whatever that I like then go and tour with. So it's like how I pay. I've paid a lot of bills based on just a 2-week hypomanic period in my life. I've gotten a lot of like career advances and things like that just from 2 weeks of incredible energy and insights and stuff.
And then it plays that trick on you where you're like, if only I could have that every day, then think of how good I'd be doing. I just have to figure out a way to be at my most productive and manic all the time. And then I'll cut out sleep, and then I'll have double that. It'll be great. And I'll share the wealth too. I'm going to use it. I'm guilty of this too, but have you seen people like writing about or just talking about how like they want to be successful so they can hand out to other people. They can distribute. It's like, well, you're still putting yourself just slightly above everyone on the hierarchy because you're the like distributor. Once you got the trillion, then I can give it to people and give opportunities to those who should get it.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I want to be successful for you.
The people. So where were we on the?
I was trying to think of I was having a personal experience pop up in my mind, and I lost it.
Man, I want to have one of those one day. My own personal pan experience.
I had a very specific example of this, but it doesn't matter. Okay, next sentence. These individuals notice that at times their mood and or energy level is very low, and at other times very high.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like I'm pretty predictable for there's parts of the day where I'm dumb and I can't do anything, and I'm best to be just not try to be productive. And then there's other times where I can do everything. I can do the dishes while learning all the different dialects of Chinese using just my toes. And you're wondering, like, isn't that a spoken language? And I say, it used to be. Until we got my toes involved. That's how productive I am during that. But then I get tired and unable to even click open on an email, let alone reply to it.
Yeah. Oh, you're like that with the podcast sometimes, where there's like a period where clearly, like, things aren't happening as fast as normal or whatever, and then usually followed by just a flood of things. I feel like you just cycle faster. Like you have that experience more on like a daily or weekly basis or something.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I am that.
I don't know. I
mean, for this question,
I don't mean to.
For this question, I'm not saying I'm going to put in my bio now, which that's an interesting phenomenon of recently. I'm not judging people for it, which is a polite way of saying I guess I judge people for it. But isn't it weird when some people are their diagnosis is in their social media bio, like their identity is centered around like I am ADHD person, I am BPD person, I am bipolar person, I am.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and I get it. And it's, I mean, I think that if we can, I think one of the nice things about labels is they're not great to put on other people, but if you can give people shorthand for who you are, there's something kind of nice about that.
Yeah.
And
maybe it works for them in the other way. It's like a horrible hell if it's just like, well, what do you want me to be? It's like I should just play harp and that's my bio. Like, what is a bio even? So whether it's anything, whether your gender is your bio or your job or your neurodivergence or something, but I just see it as couldn't it have the pitfall of a trap of that you could then never escape that, then
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yes. It's probably because once you start rewarding your brain for anything,
yeah,
whether that's being the happiest person in the world or the saddest person in the world or the craziest person in the world, if something in your subconscious is like, oh, I'm getting a reward when this behavior happens, it's going to reinforce that behavior, and now you're stuck.
That's the Jaco Pastorius tragic story. I mean, the two bass players I bring up the most on this show, which this isn't even a bass podcast, but if an AI looked at this podcast, they might be like, we're going to put the bass label on this too. But Jaco Pastorius was bipolar back when it was called manic depression, and he was outrageous. Like every day he had a new crazy story of something he did, and people would come to expect it from him. So where he just always felt like he had to deliver on the like wackiness, otherwise he wouldn't be his true self. And then that eventually led to his death, because you can't keep it up forever. You can't be wacky every day.
I know. I had to have like a real reckoning with myself years ago, and I'm still pretty adventurous by average, like Bob in the Office standards, but I am a way toned
Morning,
down
Shane.
version
Had a
of
good weekend?
Did I? I can't even tell you about it, Bob. That's how good it was.
Oh, it's great to hear. Wife doing good? Well, my wife and I went and saw that new X-Men, whatever it's called, movie, Multi-Madness. A little bit too wild for me, but kids sure like it.
I fucking hate Bob.
Well, what's that about? I didn't hear you. You said you already ate? You already ate it? Yeah, Bob can eat it.
Way too many people like Bob. Holy crap. Oh boy,
yeah, you're too connected to.
I'm too connected
to normal
to the
people
Bobs
and
of the world.
Yeah, there's not a normal person within like 30 miles of me.
Yeah.
Everyone is they them here. Everyone is about to like go overthrow the government. That's not true, of course. A lot of people are just showbiz whateveries, but in terms of the regular Bob job guy, no, there's nothing around, nothing for miles like that.
All right. During their low phases, these individuals often feel a lack of energy, a need to stay in bed or get extra sleep, and little or no motivation to do things they need to do.
Oh yeah, I've got a whole crate full of that.
That's your whole jam.
Yeah, that's my genetic code. When did they sequence my DNA and put it in a bipolar test? Speaking
of, I mean, that is, speaking of things that you get rewarded for, I mean, most people wouldn't know it because your stuff is so cheery seeming on like Instagram or whatever and fun loving. But so much of it is like you talking yourself out of those places. Yeah, in a way, I am that same thing I criticized when people like put ADHD in their bio. I'm pretty much still doing that. It's just hidden. Yeah. I'm hiding the repetitive hammering of the inability to do the thing. To reconcile with how you are. I mean, I have a question for you. Who do you think doesn't agree with that last sentence? Like Bob? I mean, I'm going to read it again. These individuals notice at times their mood and energy level is very low, and at other that's the wrong one. Sorry. During their low phases, these individuals often feel a lack of energy and a need to stay in bed, get extra sleep, and little or no motivation to do things they need to do.
I think there are people that I think Jocko Willink or someone like that get up at 4 every morning and go work out, and then they have a period of work where they're productive on the computer, not physical stuff. I like to surf, and then I like to spend time with my family. I don't spend time in bed scrolling through memes or things like that.
I do. Peter McGraw is my most person like that in my life, and boy, it's like it's true. He is that person. He has that. Like when I talk to him and he's having a rough time, it's like, this is amazing and adorable. I can't believe this is what a rough time to you is.
Because he's never been focused and productive.
It's like, well, if I get this bigger like luxury apartment, that means I'll have to push back retirement by 2 years. We'll see if this, and that lasts for like a day.
Push back retirement.
Yeah.
Damn, a person that thinks about, because my plan, which is a terrible plan, but it is my plan nonetheless, which is most people's plans, which is by the time I'm 65, I will be dead or I will have crushed it. Yeah. And I'll have like resource acquisition and health just won't be a problem because I'll have figured it out by then. Yeah. I don't need to slowly incrementize and plan spreadsheetize things.
I have the same plan and I believe in us. And if anyone else has that plan, I would say maybe,
join the tree
on that plan.
Yeah. Join the tree on.
I mean, this is like such an egocentric thing because anyone else I'd be like, well, that's a bad plan. But for me, I'll do the thing.
I don't think you understand, my friend. I'm the main character. It works out. I don't know what happens to you after page 42, 43, but I'm here till the end with a cliffhanger for a sequel even.
Oh my God. Clip it and ship it. That's very good.
Ship it, shop it, drop it.
Rub it, lather it up, slide it.
I hope the next social media is called Drop. Because it'll be a play on everyone is a drop in the bucket. And then you get to use the word drop like, yo, I just dropped this. And like your new little meme song, anything.
I hope
you got to get off TikTok. Get on Drop.
Get on Drop. Do you think we should, the next time a thing pops up, do you think we should try to like be in on day one?
Of the new social platform?
Of the new social platform.
That's the thing. It's like tough to predict, but maybe it's not. Yeah. And then, whatever 12-year-olds are into right now, that's what we need to get on.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Then you're like on a platform with 12-year-olds, and then you're trying to do that skateboard backwards hat in the school thing where, like, hey, kids, fellow young, what's the Steve Buscemi character say? Hey, fellow kids.
Yeah. I had this thought the other day of the... when people say like, oh, social media, that's all, people put makeup on and they get just the right shot and it's not a real representation. Like that's not even the tip of the iceberg of how little of a social media is. Like I watch a lot of trick shot videos. I'm like, social media is a trick shot video. That's what it is. It's someone that did 1 billion takes of jumping, throwing a basketball between their legs across a football field, and it hits a ping pong ball that starts some other machine that sets off fireworks, that scares a cat in a hilarious way that saves the day from the seal. And they like nailed it on that take. And you're like, whoa, how did they do that? They wasted an incredible amount of time doing a very unrealistic thing for no purpose except this. That's how, like, you should be proud if you aren't making trick shot videos, because you're doing better things with your life than that. And
it's still just as satisfying.
I love those. They're great. I love them all. I love every trick shot thing I've ever seen. Everyone.
I wonder if it's the same, like if they've done studies on this already, but if the dopamine hit is the same for when you're seeing a trick shot you want to happen, or when you see someone you want to fail, like eat it. I don't know what decides that. Like, I think, like, for example, on Your Mom's House podcast, there's not a lot of videos of people doing like success videos. It's a lot of fail videos, a lot of people eating it, and then they confirm later. It's like, no, it's okay. They didn't die. It's okay to laugh at it because they didn't die. It's benign violation throughout the long arc of time. But something in Tom Segura's brain loves seeing people eat it. And then some people would rather see it succeed. I like both, I guess.
I like the success stories. And sometimes I just saw a video just before we logged on Instagram where this guy decided that he wanted to pet and like kind of mess around with and like wrangle like a medium-sized shark from his boat, and was like playing with it like his kid was there, and he's like trying to pet the thing and play with it, and then the thing just bites his finger and spins around, and you just see the shark covered in blood, and then the guy goes, "Oh, damn it. I just lost my fucking pinky."
You didn't lose it. You gave it away.
Oh my God.
The shark didn't even enjoy it. It was all just for the fuck you of it.
You gave it away. All right.
Question 2. What is your favorite feeling, happy or sad? If you've selected both, you're bipolar.
They often put on weight during these periods.
They? Did you just neutral gender me?
It's speaking about other people, but we need to apply it to ourselves.
Do I often gain weight? No, I think I've been the same weight since like 2011.
Yeah, that's my first to no check. During their low phases, these individuals often feel blue, sad all the time, or depressed. See, already getting redundant. Boom, boom. We're neck and neck. I'm in the lead, but sometimes during these low phases, they feel hopeless or even suicidal.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I just had some ideation pop up over the last week. It's been a while. It was kind of like when I had it, I was like, boy, I want to kill myself, but also it's been like a long period of time since I've wanted to kill myself, and that's something. That's progress. I have to at least recognize. Yeah, I have to recognize that. But yeah, spiraled.
Erase the board. 0 days since suicidal ideation. But it's more fun. It's more fun at the first days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's always, I always have a hangover of it, where I'm no longer. So I had a really rough week internally, not externally, but I just fell apart. I got overwhelmed. A lot of avoidant behaviors, fluctuating between panic attacks ish, almost panic attacks, but I did like almost feel like I was having a heart attack during one of them, and then really low lows, and then it just went away. Just went away pretty quickly. It was short lasting, and then but even after it went away, it's still like, you could kill yourself. like hearing like just a whisper of it, like for days to follow.
Yeah.
Fucking brain. Their ability to function at work or socially is impaired.
Yeah. Agree. Functioning socially, you gotta look at the eyes of the other person, and then they like make sounds at you, and then you have to go, yeah, and you sound back at them. It's tough.
I almost can't even put myself down for a check with this, but it's true. It's definitely true. But I think that I've been so impaired by my extreme moods, both with work and socially, for so much of my life that I've just gotten used to it. So I can put on the face, I can get through social situations, I can get work done. I can get work done in pretty low states. So I guess I'm going to give myself a check, but I don't know. I feel like I can always work and be social these days, and that wasn't always the case.
That's good.
Typically, these low phases last for a few weeks, but sometimes they last only a few days.
I don't think I've ever done weeks. If I did weeks, I would have to actually go to therapy. But since I've only done days... You've done months?
Months and months. Wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would say I would say that a 2-month period of depression is something that I've come to expect once a year. And when it doesn't happen, I'm like, good year.
Compliments to the chef. The year chef. Whoever's back there cooking up whatever's going on this year.
It's very funny. Individuals with this type of pattern may experience a period of normal mood in between mood swings, during which their mood and energy levels feel right and their ability to function is not disturbed.
Ooh, I'm there right now. I feel like I'm normal Norman today.
I already discussed that. Yeah, I'm a normal Gus most of the time.
Yeah, someone could come up to me and say, "Can you email me a spreadsheet?" And I'd be like, "No problem." I can even fill up the spreadsheet with information.
They may then notice a marked shift or switch in the way they feel.
Yes.
Their energy increases above what is normal for them, and they often get many things done they would not normally be able to.
Ooh, that's a good day. Every now and then, a day comes up where you have the energy to pay that bill you've been avoiding, or you even reach out to someone you haven't reached out to in a while. Those are called sometimes days. But other times are the opposite.
I have weeks for sure. I can build a festival in no time. I can put together a podcast. I can once it gets firing, I'm like, ooh, all hands on deck, because everything's going right now. And that's another thing is one of the symptoms of mania is like pretty extreme irritability, because you're just like flying and it's like, why is everybody slowing me down?
Because we weren't allowed on the plane.
And it's so silly when you're not manic to like look back and like what you like, because it does feel like superhuman when you're in it. And so then to look back on like what your expectations were of other people when you're like back to just, oh, this is what a normal day feels like. Oh yeah, that was an episode for sure. And that's nice when I just know that I experienced one. My sleep was still okay and everything went easy breezy. And I just got a lot of productivity out of it. That's what you live for. And those ones happen. And they're not unusual. They're actually the norm for me. that they don't go sideways. And then once in a while, so I have to keep an eye on my sleep, number one, and then any synchronicity type stuff. Once I start picking up on synchronicities, it doesn't mean that like I'm going to be in a psych ward, but it means I better keep an eye on.
Oh man, I wish I could have those fries that you're not eating. I haven't seen, I mean, my synchronicities are just like, I look at the clock and it's 1:11 sometimes.
I have a friend that will not stop with that. It's like, every time I see it though. This isn't, it's not magic. But yeah, but right now it's 1:11 and someone's listening and they're like, but what? So
you'll never catch us.
Should we speed through the rest of these quick?
Oh yeah, let's
do a different one.
Spackle. You can't say spick anymore. I mean spickle.
You just did.
Yeah, it's kind of a kink in my arm, or just a little kink that I have there.
Individuals with this type, okay, they may energy levels. Sometimes during these high periods, these individuals feel as if they have too much energy or feel hyper.
I guess I'm a no on that now. I don't feel like I'm hyper.
I don't talk fast, and I don't ever dislike that I'm feeling that way. I'm never just like, boy, I better sure hope this goes away. Whenever I'm feeling that way, I'm like, I wonder if I've unlocked it.
Yeah.
Is it happening forever now?
That would be so cool.
Some people do.
Yeah, hyperness, I don't know. That's something I had as a kid, maybe. Yeah. You don't get in your 30s and be hyper. I've tried. I try the energy drinks. I try the green tea. I try the coffee all day. I keep it up. I do it even more every day. But still regular.
Oh, looky here. Some individuals during these high periods may feel irritable, on edge, or aggressive.
No.
I get it. I'm normally a chill person. Just had my first fight with Banana. Oh my God. Yeah, it was terrible. It wasn't a bad one. It was just like snarky things happening.
She likes the Red Sox. You like the Falcons. This was bound to happen.
Yeah. That was a particularly, that was like some stuff going on. But
you made up?
I definitely get, oh yeah, immediately.
Okay, good. Then this can be a highlight.
But
if the highlight was just like, I got in a fight with Banana, and then like our TVs zoom out and then it shows the social media handles.
Yeah.
Tune in every Monday. I mean, Tuesday.
So we don't have an assistant anymore. Some individuals during these high periods take on too many activities at once.
Yes.
Oh yeah, big time.
I just need to select everything in my inbox, reply all with sorry, can't, and then send.
Mm-hmm.
I got to clear everything up.
I'm kind of inbox zero-y, but we have different styles.
I'm going to have them shipped over to you.
During these high periods, some individuals may spend money in ways that cause them trouble.
No.
I'm a big yes on that. So the advantage of having a team and a Banana in your life to run every one of your thoughts by. They may be more talkative, outgoing, or sexual during these periods.
More talkative, outgoing, and sexual during periods of mania. No, I think I'm pretty even.
Okay, I'm a big yes on that. Sometimes their behavior during these high periods seems strange or annoying to others.
No, because I was no on the last few.
I just remembered the story that I was going to tell when I was struggling to think of it. Peter McGraw. Speaking of Peter McGraw, I had this like my first big manic episode when I hadn't ever experienced anything like that before. To give you an idea, so Pete goes to bed early. He springs out of bed every morning. Those are his words. He's told me, he's been like, I spring out of bed every morning. I'm like, you do what? That's insane. He's like a rocket.
Wow.
Like, that's how he gets out of bed every morning.
If there was an actual spring under my bed, I wouldn't still spring out. I would like cling to the platform as it tries to spring me out. And then eventually I would like slime out of it onto the floor and then slowly, like I'm just that picture of the fish becoming the sea animal, becoming the mammal, becoming the eventually Homo sapien. Like that's me out of bed. Every morning.
Yeah. So he goes to bed early. I remember I was staying at his house after this. Like I went to Colorado. I had this ayahuasca experience, and I was going and I was staying at Pete's. And I remember I was up until like 2 or 3 in the morning or something, and like trying to go to sleep. And then I just remember him coming downstairs at like 5 in the morning, and I'm in the kitchen. Listening to Deltron 3030 and trying to explain to him at like 5 in the morning, like hidden messages in the music and stuff. Whew. It was, and you know what? He was never like, I think you should go and get help somewhere. He was just like, Shane's peculiar today. This is odd.
Yeah, it's tough to know. It's tough to know when your friend is being your friend and when you've gone off the deep end. Because you can't just be on the shallow end the whole time. Mm-hmm. And you don't see your friend's feet. You don't know how much ocean is beneath there.
It is hard to know. So we're almost done. Sometimes their behavior during these high periods seems strange or annoying to others. Okay. Sometimes these individuals get into difficulty with coworkers or the police during these high periods.
No.
I gotta throw a check down on there. It used to be the case. I was always in trouble with
You're my only
law.
coworker, actually. Yeah, we're at the office right now. It's pretty fun, right?
We're at work. Fun. Yeah, we have a fantastic coworker relationship.
When I had a little web development company with me and 3 friends, we wanted to name our company Work. We decided not to. It would be too bad for SEO and stuff, but we really wanted to call it Work and then put work outside of our door, and then we would come every day just to work. And anytime we're having a bad day, it's like, oh, fucking work. And it just says it on the door and everything. In retrospect, we should have done that, actually. That would have been great.
You were doing pretty well with that stuff when I met you.
Yeah, well, it had periods. It had periods where we did really well, and then we'd have years where it did no good. Because you'll have like a big client, and that's like 80% of your money. And then if something happens with the big client, or the big client goes out of business, or the big client gets bought by someone else, which causes them to fire all these things, then that affects you. And, it's a whole big thing. Now it's 1,000,000 years ago.
There is no stability in a modern world. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
People are like, the blue collar worker, we need them the most, fixing the sewers and things. And I tend to agree with that, but you think there's not going to be a robot fixing your sewers and like everything else?
I think plumbing is one of those ones that I've heard is very difficult to replace with a robot so far. So far. Yeah, I think graphic design is going to get replaced before plumbing does. But of course, burger flipping or whatever, snow plow, trucking things, it's coming for everybody's jobs.
I don't even get how there's fast food places anymore. I don't get how it's not vending machines. It's pretty close to that.
I think it would displace too big of a population of the slave wages the wage slave class would be displaced and it would cause rioting maybe.
Yeah, but that's not stopping any restaurant from building.
They're doing it for the optics though. Because like McDonald's could lay off everyone, replace it with robots, and then like boost their bottom line. But then the backlash to that, if they did it too quick.
What's to stop you and me? Besides everything, what's to stop you and me from starting like Robo Foods or something like that? And just
what does Robo Foods do?
Robo Foods is just a robotic fast food place that only has one person, an IT person there to make sure that it's functioning, and it cooks up everything and it takes your order and you do it on apps and things and you just pick it up and it's fresh, and it's better than having a human spit in your food and forget that you didn't want pickles on the thing, and it's just perfect and it's better in every way. How is that not?
Because it breaks and you need the robot guy to come replace it, and
so you need a mechanic and you need an AI guy maybe. That's about it.
No, the technical there's no technical roadblocks. It's all human roadblocks, I think.
People want the bag handed to them by. I kind of don't believe that. I just think they just haven't had. I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but given the option, I don't know. Like
I love the robot because I know the person there doesn't want to be there all the time. I wish the person had their needs met and there was a baseline of living that was provided to everyone beyond work, so then they wouldn't have to be there, because that's uncomfortable for everyone.
The baseline need of societies is to have people's baseline needs met. And it's like, what do you think? Poverty is just free? You just get to have poverty and poor people, and there's just no expense there that doesn't cost anything, that doesn't cost crime and undereducation and malnourishment and everything else.
Disease, yeah.
All right.
Because poor people love disease.
Poor people
they spend all their money on buying new diseases.
Last question. Sometimes they increase their alcohol or non-prescription drug use during these high periods.
No. Last time I increased any kind of drug use was when my back hurt. And even then, it's just taking ibuprofen.
This one's tricky for me.
Sometimes I'll have like a beer, you know. Sometimes I'll have a beer instead of no alcohol. So those are pretty tricky days.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the only thing for me is when it says sometimes they increase their alcohol or non-prescription drug use during these high periods. I mean, the answers are in the stars trying to figure out when I'm going to increase my substance use. Like, who knows? Yeah. That's any given day.
So you're a no for that one?
I don't know. I think I better put a check just because.
So I'm half of you?
Yeah, you're half of me.
Nice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah.
What's Peter McGraw, 0? If you were to guess. Like that's so funny.
Something. I bet he's 0. I bet he's 0. Son of a bitch. No. He's like a 2. I can think of a couple things that maybe fit in. So now this last question is, now that you've read this full passage, please check one of the following 4 boxes. This story fits me very well or almost perfectly. This story fits me fairly well. This story fits me to some degree, but not in most aspects. This story does not really describe me at all.
I'm the third one. It's got some truths in there, but majority of it I could not say I align with.
That means that is another 2 points for you, and it fits me very well. So that's 6. I am I'm a 23 out of a possible 25.
Wow.
And so that's high probability. Nailed it. And then you are a low probability.
Yeah, I never felt like I was that. I'm very ADHD, which we've learned on that ADHD episode where we talk about, I think, the general description of ADHD is like, ooh, look, something shiny. But it's more about you can focus on one task, but you have trouble focusing when it's many tasks. You kind of jump around.
Right.
And I'm that, because I can focus on one thing for 8 hours, but I also cannot focus on one thing to save my life sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we all have a little bit of the spectrum in us in these various kind of mood issues from time to time. But that is impressive that I'm like, well, I was clinically I actually thought going into this, I was like, maybe my score will be lower. Maybe it will be. And I maybe gave myself 2 more check marks than I needed to.
Still a high score.
That still put me in a high probability. So yeah, that's that one. And then on the bonus episode, we are going to take this. Let's see if I can find the name of it here. It's the mood disorder questionnaire. So, by the way, in case you were checking at home, we just counted each one of those checks for each sentence. This is at the Carl ATCME Institute.com.
Carl Matt.
We'll put I don't know what that is. I'll send a link to McCool so he can add it into everything.
Carl never sounds official. It's at the Carl.
Yeah.
Maybe Leonard or something.
Oh,
Ooh,
my
Lenny and
God.
Carl.
I met a guy today. I can't believe his name wasn't Carl. Here's the last thing we wrap up. I should have opened with this. Oh my God. It fucked with me in a weird way. I'm at the pickleball courts today. I hadn't played in a while. It's a Friday night, so it's a little slow. It's not as many people as there'd normally be. This guy comes. I'm playing with these guys. This guy comes. He has like I don't know. He just kind of looks like a Carl-ish figure to me, like cool construction worker guy, like. That's what he thinks of himself. But like, I don't know. He had kind of like longer shoulder length-ish hair. He's vaping. And he's got like a construction worker like boombox with him and stuff. And he starts, and now he's going to play pickleball with us. And he turns on his like boom. People don't normally bring a speaker and play music.
No one does.
And he turns it on. And it's pretty loud, and he's like, "Is this okay? Is this volume okay?" And we're all like, "Yeah."
What tunes is he blasting? Steely Dan?
The whole thing.
Taylor Swift?
I'm not sure you would ever guess, but
Joni Mitchell.
Newer.
Killers.
What? No. Okay. Early 90s. Oh, that's so close. Offspring is so close. Offspring is so close. Less popular.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Less popular than Offspring, even. Even more of a flash in the pan.
Flash in the pan. Alice in Chains? No, they're not flash in the pan.
No, they're amazing.
But it's
I think
less
like one album. It was a very good album at the time.
Lit. Eve 6.
That's close. Lit, I feel like Lit's in the ballpark.
Give it to me.
Bush.
Bush. See, I wouldn't have guessed Bush because that's one you can't recall. You can only see. Science has proved this. No one has been able to recall Bush. But if you show people pictures of it, they can say, oh, yeah, that's Gavin Rossdale. Yeah. That's Bush. This is Chemical Between Us. This is the earlier albums. All this stuff. But you can't recall it.
So he's playing Bush, which already...
Which album?
I'm like, this is... that was their first album.
Which Breathe In, Breathe Out? I know it's not called that, but that's the one song that
maybe,
people may know.
Or maybe Glycerine. I forget, but get this, though. And then the next song plays. Do you want to guess what it is?
Oh, it's not Bush now.
No, the next song plays and it's Bush again.
It's the same song?
No. And then I'm like, and then the next song plays and it's Bush. I'm like, wait a second, we're listening
to the whole album.
To the fucking Bush album. You can't. And he was like dancing and getting fired up and stuff on the pickleball court. But you can't just play any. There isn't a single album on earth that you can show up with strangers and just play the whole album during pickleball. If you're gonna play music at all, which is already most people, I've barely ever seen that. You throw a mix on. You put a fucking mix on. You don't put a whole album on. Bush album? I've never met you before. What was up?
He's turning you on. He's turning you on to the sweet, sweet sounds of Bush.
And he's singing along to it and stuff, of course. And he's
with
just
the
getting
voice?
fucking
Can he
fired
do the voice?
Up. I wasn't.
Actually, that's a tough voice to do.
I remember trying so hard to ignore that the whole thing was happening, and it was just piercing my. I remember I was like, if one day for a fluke, I was just like, maybe I should just put on the Bush album to myself. Maybe I would enjoy it even because I used to like the album, and maybe it would be like a fun little throwback. But it's one of those where it's like. There's other people. You ever at a restaurant and your friends talking too loud about some like sex or drug story or whatever? It's like, well, I'm not like against this story necessarily, but you're projecting it to the whole thing. Yeah. It's inappropriate. It's not. And that it was that times 100 because it was the full fucking first.
I have to go back and listen to that one because I'm thinking of what's that other album? The Science of Things. I think that's their third or fourth one. But there's some slow songs in there, like Letting the Cable Sleep. What if during that whole
this is debut album?
Was there a slow one, like a slow sad one?
There was one. That was like where they tried to mix it up some, I would say, in their first album. But yeah, it was. I mean, they had some good hits in there and everything. But I mean, it's pretty unbearable music to listen to now, especially.
Is it? I should go see.
You should check it out. Yeah. And with that, we got in just under 90 minutes. I mean, there's great songs. And I just
you just don't want the whole album at pickleball.
It was insane.
Yeah, like, contextually everything can be bad. I mean, there's bands that have been used in Abu Ghraib torture facilities.
Yeah.
I think Chili Peppers and 311 were used as torture. I remember this was like 10 years ago that came out
over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the band had to comment on it. It's like, yeah, well, we wanted to make it something positive, and we didn't envision people getting tortured too. Like, no shit, no one needs to make a statement. How do you feel about your music being used to torture Iraq?
Why the fuck would they do that? Yeah. All right, that's the episode. We gave you a little more than we said we were going to deliver because that's what we do each and every week. And if you want to support that, you can support us on Patreon, which pays for an assistant that I rarely yell at, and Matt McCool, who does such a good job of editing.
You didn't yell, did you?
Oh no, it was a snippy text.
Good.
And then we made up for it. It was an extreme circumstance. Banana and I are like a married, we're like
work
married
couple.
Sibling work couples. Like, it's shocking we talk every single day. It's shocking we haven't had like more. I mean,
I don't even talk to my dick every day.
I know. And it's mostly I wouldn't say it's all one-sided, but it's mostly my crazy, disorganized thoughts all of the time and her trying to keep track of them. It's the whole thing. And then a whole mum verse. And in all of that, barely ever.
So yes, contribute to the Patreon so that Banana can make more money
and stop
can
drinking
make more
piss.
money. Yeah,
well, I thought we were gonna have them. I thought we were gonna have them
drinking
higher grade piss.
Yeah. We never said that we were gonna make them stop drinking piss. We wanted them to drink slightly less of it, but higher grade stuff, because the higher grade stuff is more concentrated. Stays in the system longer. Science.
I'm hoping that we do well enough that, you know, they'll eventually miss piss, and so it'll be like a martini that you have at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Once in a while to remember the good old days. So if you want to support that, go to MindUnderPod on patreon.com/MindUnderPod. And right around the corner, there are actually now, I get to say this, we're getting closer and closer to selling out that original 222 tickets, which will give you a lot more access and other fun things for Mind Under Matter, and extra stuff that's going to have you in our good graces for life. So check that out, because come August, we have a few marketing things planned and stuff, and come August those are going to sell fast and they're going to run out, and the festival will be better if you do it earlier. So you guys are awesome, and until next time,
keep on salivating, honey. Tasting.